I don't know about you guys, but this is the best day of the year. It's the day we get to celebrate the fact that Jesus is risen. He beat the grave, he beat death. The resurrection is real and he is alive. The Spirit is alive, and it's just all amazing. That being said, I still do just miss you guys a lot. Not going to church this morning, not being in a building, not being with all of you was tough. But something cool that my family did is, so my grandma is quarantined by herself at her house, and she has this little pond in her backyard, and on the other side is a golf course, and it's just this really pretty view. And so we went there before sunrise, and we did a service, just like a makeshift service with 9, 10 of us, however many there are now. And we talked about Jesus. And we just talked about what he's done for us and how much he loves us, and the fact that he is risen. And we talked about that as the sun rose over this little pond. And it was cold, and we were shivering, and it wasn't perfect. But we're not perfect. And it was beautiful, and I just felt so connected to him, so connected to our Father, and just so grateful for what he's done for us. And so tonight, what I wanted to share with you guys, continuing on with our testimony series. I'm not going to even try to step into the shoes of Jesus and tell you his testimony. If you want to know more about that, I'll tell you more about it. But if you want to read it and really understand it in a really in-depth way, I challenge you guys to pick up this book, the Bible, and study it for yourself. It's the best way to go closer to him. It really is. It's hard and daunting, but it's the best way. And so if you want to do that, actually, before I get into this, come to our Bible studies. Girls come on Tuesdays. They're pretty great. I think so, but I might be biased. But it's super fun, and we're just starting a new series where we're digging into learning how to love who God made us to be and who we are, and what that means, and how that changes the way we live our lives, knowing who we are. Last week we talked about mission statements, and it was pretty cool. And then guys, Willie is doing a really cool thing where he's actually challenging and empowering you to study things on your own. So every week, he's sending out some verses and some great questions to ask, and then he is readily available if you want to call him and work through that. But it's a really good way to teach yourself and learn those skills, so that way when you guys go to college, you can sit down and just get into the Word and learn about Jesus. So yeah, challenge you guys to do that. But while I was doing that, when I was getting into the Word, I want to tell you guys the testimony of Peter. We know a lot about Peter. We learn a lot about him all throughout the New Testament, especially in the 4 Gospels. So if you want to learn more about it, go ahead and go read. But I'm going to fast forward a little in his story just for time's sake, because I really want to get to the end where it's the nitty-gritty important stuff. But there's a background information. Peter is Jesus' best friend. He has these 3 disciples that are his tight buddies, but Peter is the tightest. You guys know Whitney is my best friend. We do everything together. She's like my Peter, or I'm her Peter, or whatever. We're super, super close. So think about your best friend in the whole wide world. That person that you know you could call no matter what. They would drop what they're doing, and they are there for you anytime without skipping a beat, and you know you can count on them. That was Peter and Jesus. That's what they were like. And so Peter dropped his whole life. As a fisherman, left that behind, and he went and followed Jesus everywhere, followed his teachings. He believed in him. Anytime Jesus would be like, hey, who do you think I am? Peter was like, I know who you are. When Jesus walked out on the water, Peter was the disciple that jumped out of the boat and started walking after him. And yeah, he sank a little bit when he got a little scared, but he took those steps, and he was going to take those steps into crazy storming waters to follow Jesus. That's how close they were, which is pretty amazing. And then things start getting crazy in their lives. And just try and put yourself in Peter's shoes. Okay, so your best friend is God, and you believe that. So it's your best friend, and he's walking next to you. This is really hard to try and imagine, but try to. And all of a sudden, in the span of 2 days, it goes from you and him are just walking into a town and things are great, things are going awesome, to your best friend has just been taken, and he's in jail, and he is on trial for his life. And you're pretty sure he's going to lose and he's going to die. And so So when Jesus gets taken away and he's on that trial, Peter follows him and he goes into the area where the trial is happening. And so in those days, anyone could walk in, kind of similar to what we're at now, but people would like hang out outside what we would call the courthouse. And there was vendors and all these things and people sitting around fires. And so that's where Peter went. And he was hanging out there. And so during this time, Peter does something that he never thought he would do. Even before this happened, the night before, Jesus told Peter, "Hey, you're gonna deny me. You're gonna deny me." And Peter says, "I will not." And he goes, "You will." Jesus is like, "No, you're gonna deny me 3 times." And Peter, he doesn't believe it. He's like, "There is no way I'm gonna do that." And then fast forward, 2 days. And if you have your Bibles, go ahead and open them up to John chapter 18. And I'm reading a couple of verses and telling you guys a little bit of the story to fill it in. But we're going to start in 18 and we're going to be looking at 16. So John 18:16. And it says, "But Peter stood outside the door. So the other disciple who was known to the high priest went out and spoke to the servant girl who kept at the watch and brought Peter in." So he just went into that area. "And the servant girl at the door said to Peter, 'You also are not one of this man's disciples, are you?' And Peter said, 'I am not.'" So that's the first time. Right off the bat, he denies it without even a thought. "I am not." And then if we fast forward to verse 25, so in John 18:25, it says, "Now Simon Peter was standing and warming himself. So they said to him, 'You also are not one of his disciples, are you?' He denied it again and said, 'I am not.'" So that's 2 times. And then we keep reading. "One of the servants of the high priest, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, asked, 'Did I not see you in the garden with him?' Peter again denied it, and at once the rooster crowed." So that's 3 times. 3 times that Peter denied it. That's 3 times that his best friend he claimed not to even know. That hurts, and he feels bad about that. And then soon after that, Jesus dies, and not in a relaxing way, in a calm way, an easy to digest way, but in a very brutal way. Jesus dies. So Peter, his last memory with his best friend is denying he even knew him. I can't imagine being in that place and thinking of myself in that way. But I can. I deny Jesus all the time. I pretend I don't know him all the time. I'd like to say that I don't, but I do. There's so many times in my life where I've chosen to claim Jesus only when it's easiest for me. So anyway, fast forwarding again, Jesus dies, and that's what we just honored on Friday for Good Friday, is that horrible day. And then you have Saturday, which was yesterday, where the disciples believe that their God was dead. So Peter is walking around with this weight and this heaviness, believing that his best friend is dead. That is final. That is finite in his mind. His best friend is dead, and the last thing he did was deny him 3 times. And then, what we're celebrating today, the amazing thing, Jesus rises from the dead. He conquers the grave. He is resurrected. He comes back. It is amazing. Amazing. And he appears to the disciples. He appears to Mary. He appears to Peter. We see in John 21, verse 7, "The disciple whom Jesus loved therefore said to Peter, 'It is the Lord.' When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his outer garment, for he was stripped for work, and threw himself into the sea. The other disciples came in the boat, dragging the net full of fish, for they were not far from the land, but about 100 yards off." So when he finds out that his best friend, his God, his Savior, is alive, that he is resurrected from the dead, he is so overcome, he throws himself, he lunges himself into the sea. Because he was in a boat and he wanted to get to land. He wanted to get to Jesus as soon as possible. I don't know about you guys, but if I was Peter and I find myself going to Jesus and going to see him after I denied him, I would be overcome with a mix of excitement and being so happy that my friend was alive, but also a little bit of shame, because I know what I did. I know that I denied him. and I have to carry that, and I have to go to him with that. And so let's read a little bit about what it's like when they get together. They end up hanging out, and then they share this special moment. And this is in John 21, verse 15 through 19. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my lambs." Jesus said to him a second time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" He said to them, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." He said to them, "Tend my sheep." He said to them the third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was grieved because he had said it to him the third time. "Do you love me?" And he said it again, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep. Truly, truly, I say to you, when you were young, you used to dress yourself and walk wherever you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will dress you and carry you wherever you do not want to go." This he said to show by what kind of death he was to glorify God. After saying this, he said to him, "Follow me." So if you remember earlier, Peter denied Jesus 3 times. And he walks and he gets to see Jesus again. He's carrying that weight of those denials. And what we see here is right away Jesus forgiving him. Yeah, you denied him, but you denied me that first time, but do you love me? Yes, awesome. You denied me a second time, but do you love me? Yes, amazing. You denied me a third time? Okay, do you love me? Yes, great. Feed my sheep, take care of my people, I entrust them to you. That's what Jesus said to Peter. Because of Jesus, we get to walk in that forgiveness. We get to be human, and human means that we're going to mess up. That we're going to have times where we deny him. We're not going to be perfect, and we can't carry that huge, huge weight around. We can try to be more like Jesus every day and celebrate who he is and how much we love him, but he is going to be there because of the cross. We get to embrace that full forgiveness of God. We get to walk in that light that Jesus has cast. So thank you guys for listening. I know this video was longer than they usually are, and I hope you made it all the way through because it's good stuff. It's important, I think. I know. But I miss you all so much, and just give me a call and let's hang out sometime this week. So all my love. Happy day. Wish I could be with you guys, but really, really glad that we're all celebrating something that is so, so amazing. So bye.